Hi, my name is Lydia, and I'm here with my boyfriend David Long, and I am interviewing him for my social psych project today. He is a martial artist. We train martial arts together, and I had some questions for him having to do with his training in martial arts. The first question I have for you, David, is when did you start training martial arts? What age, around what age, and what kind of martial arts did you start in?
I started martial arts when I was about like 12, 13 years old. I was probably like in middle school, and I was just growing up. And even before that, at a younger age, I was getting like bullied a lot. Just being like a person of like different ethnic background.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a little bit different.
Yeah.
And when you're growing up, you get looked at differently. So yeah, of course you're gonna get judged and you get bullied a little bit. So my parents decided to put me into martial arts,
Yeah.
which gave me something to do recreationally. And so I started with styles like Taekwondo and Kung Fu, which were great because it just showed me discipline and what hard work was about.
Okay.
So yeah.
What was your experience? First of all, I want to say though, I share that as a martial artist too because I am a biracial woman of color, so I totally understand that. Growing up, my dad had put me into martial arts when I was 13 years old, so I totally understand. And he told me, "Hey, you know what, Mija, you have to learn how to defend yourself in this world. It's crazy." So so thank you for that honesty. But I wanted to ask you too. So, what was your experience first getting into martial arts? Did anybody? I know with guys, sometimes there's like this alpha thing that happens fast, there's in a room with guys sometimes, and especially growing teenage guys. So when you first started getting into martial arts, did any of your friends find out and try to challenge you or anything like that? Was that like an issue? Were there social pressures for you to try to prove your skills anywhere?
Honestly, no. When I first got into martial arts, it was probably about just self-growth and just being able to defend myself. And luckily, I grew up and I was taught to be humble. So I actually, when I was the whole time training, I didn't really tell anybody. I didn't tell my friends.
Wow.
I went to school, I got all my work done, and I went straight to training right after. I got done with my training, and that was it. I didn't tell anybody except for the people I trained with.
Yes.
And from there, it was nothing but hard work, discipline, and I learned a lot about just like looking out for people around you, people that care about you. It wasn't just about the physical aspect, but it was a lot about just respect as well. Respect, culture, and just principle as well. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So another question. How has martial arts shaped your life growing up? Socially, in the sense where, I'll put it this way. I also had a couple bullies, but I do remember once they found out I did martial arts and that I wrestled for the school team, they kind of like shied away from me. But then again, not a lot of women have fighting skills, so maybe they were just a little bit scared. Socially, did it make people respond to you differently? Were people looking at you, through a different lens after that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one, and I can definitely relate with you. I've had bullies, growing up, where I've known them in like middle school. I got bullied in middle school, but like once we got to high school, and later on, they found out that I trained. I knew how to do this, do that in martial arts and stuff, and that already was enough to like keep them away. They were like, "Oh shoot,
Yeah.
David so and so knows the style, and like
Yeah.
he knows how to defend himself. He knows how to like take care of himself."
Yeah.
And that was enough to like take care of a lot of situations. But there were scenarios where some people, they actually really wanted to like challenge you, and yeah, there
I
were
bet.
times where you have to really like stand up for yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially, I'm sure being a man, like, it happens with females too. Actually, especially in the hood, you
Mhm.
know, but mainly with guys. I'm sure. I'm sure you see a lot more than I had to see it growing up. So
Yeah. I mean, every kid, every child grows up differently, and they run into different situations. So it really depends. Yeah, martial arts really does make a big impact on people's lives. Yeah.
So next question I had for you, David. Uh, do you face any social pressures in martial arts itself? And what kind of social pressures would that be if you do?
Um, to be honest, sometimes I do face social pressures in martial arts with there being so many styles, gyms, and coaches around, that sometimes when you train with a certain coach and you leave another gym to go to another gym, there's also factors of politics in martial arts,
Right.
and that's one of the toughest situations I face. But one of the biggest lessons I learned in life is just, it doesn't matter where you train or where you train or who you train within martial arts. It's what matters is like how you train in martial arts, how hard you train, how hardworking you are,
Yes.
how humble you are and respectful, and that's all that really matters as a martial artist to me. And that's one of the social pressures I come across
Okay.
as a martial artist.
That's
Yeah.
a good point. Okay. If I could piggyback on that, I actually, obviously, like, we don't train in the same gym. Sometimes I visit your gym, but as a female that goes into a gym that is usually dominated by males, sometimes I have a social pressure myself too, because excuse me, like, I should be allowed to say I have an injury or this hurts, but after being in martial arts for so long, I felt like now I don't want to stick out as a female. I don't want to make an excuse. So myself, like, I have a social pressure in a way to behave like a robot in a way. Like I can't complain about like how hard it may be against a guy. Like, there's a part of me for myself. In terms of the community itself, I actually have, I think, somewhat of an opposite social pressure of being super advocate for female grapplers,
Yeah.
because to put that into perspective of some kind, I started a females class at one of my gyms that lasted about 3 years. Although at the time I didn't really have the time to teach this class, I still taught it for 3 years because everybody wanted a female class in the gym, and they knew me to be the female instructor that had, or they knew me to be the experienced female person. And so socially in martial arts, I deal with some pressures, myself being a female, being kind of like pushed to support other female. And let's say that may look like going to a gym and trying to row with other females, trying to train with only other females. I'm not that selective.
Yeah.
I prefer not to limit myself, but I know that some people expect that of me, to only train with other females. My own personal social pressure that I deal with is actually the opposite, is to not complain, because I don't want to stick out as a female. I don't want the idea of discrimination or inequality to be segregation from male to female to be something that is active in jiu-jitsu. I think the jiu-jitsu world is a plane for both genders. This martial art is something that can be applied from one gender to its opposite gender as well.
Yeah.
We've been seeing that over the years. I feel no need to have a limitation in that, but nonetheless, there's social pressures that tell me, because I've heard it from other females, like, that prefer only to train at all females gym.
Yeah.
They've asked me, like, wouldn't I prefer that? and I don't have to agree with them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I agree.
one of the other questions I have, so what lessons from martial arts actually help you prep your life in other real life situations? And if you can think of these situations, please share with us.
Okay. Come to think about it, like as martial artist, you have many areas where you have competitions. There's times where you go out compete in tournaments. You do competitions like fighting, and in those times you're being tested. There's times where you're nervous when you're going out there and stuff, and it's all very normal because we're all human beings, and that's all part of like the lesson in martial arts. So the way martial arts has really shaped how I live through life and how I can apply it is in real life situations. No, it doesn't always have to be violence or anything, but even through the work world, when I go out there and I'm going to interviews, interviewing for a job, any person going through an interview can be pretty nervous. So how I apply martial arts is if I were nervous, I will reflect back on how I was getting ready to go out to tournament. If I could do a tournament, this interview should be nothing to me.
Okay.
There's been times where I'm out there, I'm getting ready to fight. I'm almost gonna get my head kicked off. So I mean, how bad is a 5-minute interview being asked questions for a job to me? So that's how I would compare a lot of my life lessons and apply martial arts into real life situations in a positive manner.
That's a super good
point. So yeah, that's a really big impact martial arts has done on my life.
Wow.
Just through confidence,
Yeah.
self-esteem, positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, because I do something similar where martial arts has helped me in that way where, okay, I feel like tell me if you feel in this situation, how you feel about this. But for me, after I just had some crazy stuff happen to me the other day where my car got towed, for an example.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I end up getting it back.
Okay.
But martial arts, helped me keep a level mind about the situation. I didn't freak out. I thought about literally, if I was in the middle of a match or somebody, how would I deal with this? I had to lock in. That's what the kids call it, right? I had to focus about what was on hand, what was the more concerning situation, not just focus on the emotional part about it, focus on the logic, and so martial arts helps us remove the unnecessary, very human-like emotions that we have in order for us to be able to use, the logical skills that we have more clearly and go through the situation.
That's true.
There's a lot of facets that I've seen, that I've been able to use, like the calmness on martial arts, like definitely like puts in you, instills in you in general life situations. Not to say, if I could say, not to say martial artists are not crazy. Like I'm pretty crazy myself. I'm a little wacky, but it's a way to balance your mind.
Yeah, I totally agree. Any situation, fight, any misfortune, you always got to stay calm. And that's one thing that martial arts teaches you to do is just stay calm.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
I think that wraps up everything, sums up for the most part. Just as an overcap, I know we were talking about everything from, when we first started, like both of us had stories of being bullying before, people that didn't understand us. Say kids are cruel, people are mean, humans are not always easy to deal with.
Yeah.
They're not always kind, they're not always 100 in every situation time. So what we can control is our reaction, and what we can gain from the the situation and the
Yeah.
experiences. And
Life lessons taught, learned. Yeah, those are important things. Definitely.
Exactly.
I agree.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah, no
And,
problem.
yeah.